the special edition of Standpoint with Mascot Ozakalo. Are you scared of any particular promise that you've made? Do you have that doubt that, you know, there are certain promises that you've made that you may not be able to fulfill? I know we talked about the issue of salaries, and you said, you know, with the backlog, it might not be an immediate thing to clear all of them, saying you were being very realistic. Well, you know, beyond that, are there any promise you've made that you feel I may not be able to keep to this?
No, not really.
In the light of the present economic situation,
in the light of our manifesto, I don't think there's something that I've promised that I'm so worried about keeping to. My hope is that with the change in government, national government, there will be also an economic change in that change in national government. And with that, I believe that promises that we've made, we'll be able to keep to them. And that's because we are hoping also on improvement of revenue to be able to meet a lot of the promises we've made. And so if the economy for any reasons collapses, then that improvement does not come. But we believe that with the change in government, there will also be an improvement in the economic stand of Nigeria. And so hopefully there will also be the expectations of us working towards a higher revenue stand will also be there. So if there's anything that I'm worried about, I think is the national economy moving forward and becoming better. That's the only thing that may worry me. But on what we've done, how we've cleverly put the manifesto together, I don't think there's much worry on our part.
All right. Let me get Professor Osondo Akoma. Seems very relaxed. This is the first time we're having you in the studio. I mean, are you looking forward to working with Mascot? And if yes, what are you excited about the most?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Chief Mascot and I, we have bonded so well to the extent where I strongly believe that we have a formidable team to deliver on our manifesto.
Okay.
I have no doubt that he has the capacity to deliver on the promises that we are going around to the people at the grassroots, to let them realize that it is time to have a better Abia State. There is youth on our side. The energy is there, and the determination and commitment to deliver on the mandates that we set for ourselves. And we strongly believe that the time has also come for us to have youth step forward to do the work that we need to do to put our state on a higher pedestal. I am very confident in the leadership of Chief Mascot Ozakalo. I also know that working with him, it's going to be seamless, and the support he requires, I'm there to provide it. So I don't have any challenge in terms of synergy or cooperation with him. And I strongly believe that our team together can deliver on all that we are promising Abians, bearing our odds.
Well, I've had a couple of conversations with Mascot. I mean, it's been a series. There's certain things he's pointed out, that you bring a level of balance to his personality. The fact that he could be very spontaneous, he could be, very excited and want to get something done, but then it seems like I'm trying not to use.
He's the calm one.
Okay, you're the calm. Like you have to say, okay, let's look at all the options and all that. Have you had those moments during this campaigning period? You take a look and say, no. Can we just hold back? Can we take a moment and think about this action before we back on it?
The word I would like to use here is synergy.
Okay.
I first and foremost believe in his leadership, but by my training and background, there is always the option of having wide, based consultation and other options. So that to me brings perspective to everything we're talking about. And I also believe strongly that he is coming from the business and the public sector perspective, and he's very strong in his passion for delivering on our mandates. I also have eyes for details. So where those gaps do exist, my competencies will fill them up. But I don't want to go to the extent where he's the fast and I'm the slow one.
Yeah.
We have a team, a formidable one, that will look at issues dispassionately, looking at all the pros and cons, and then proceed, with precision and speed. That to me is of more value.
All right. I understand that, he is the man in front, right? And you're supposed to play the role of a forerunner, so to say. And a situation where, like you said, you actually believe in his capacity. Are you saying that on your own you may not have, you don't have ideas, you don't have projects that, you say, okay, this is the way I want to go. If I have given a chance to speak, I would like us to take this direction.
Okay, let me put it this way. Take, for instance, the educational status of our tertiary institutions in Abia State. I'm coming from background where already I'm a consultant with National University Commission in terms of programs accreditation in Nigeria university system.
Okay.
I've been involved in that exercise for the past 3-4 years. And that is strength to our team.
Yeah.
So if we need to bring our tertiary institutions, the Polytechnic and the State University and the teaching hospital up to standard, I guess it's within his purview to defer to me in such issues.
Okay.
Because that's where our competencies come in. So even the leadership, as it is with him, there are areas where, our competencies will overlap, and who has the best idea will lead in such areas. So I'm taking, for instance, in education. And there are other areas too that, my ideas and my opinions will help in moving forward in terms of policy and strategies as to how to deliver on our mandates.
Okay, so you've mentioned educational sector. If you had to access the educational sector, especially in Abia State, how best would you describe it?
From what we've gathered from our word-to-word tours, we'll start with primary education.
Okay.
A situation where teachers are being owed salaries. You can be sure that such teachers cannot deliver on the curriculum. And then infrastructure. A good number of the schools are not even in a safe environment. Security, and then dilapidated building. Not to talk of the fact that, the requirements, what they need in terms of textbooks and the rest of them are not available. So we are coming to restore basic education, free basic education in the state. So from the background where the teachers also have to go for retraining to up their competencies as to deliver on the curriculum. So we are coming from a situation where already the assessment we have shows that even from the national, outcomes, learning outcomes and performance in exams, the state has actually gone down, unlike what it used to be 7, 8, 10 years ago. So we have priority for the educational sector. As a matter of fact, we are going to set an emergency for education, tertiary education and secondary education. They are also in the same category where the state of, the quality of education in these sectors, they are not what they ought to be. So we are coming to prioritize education, and we are coming to bring free primary and secondary school education, retrain the teachers, build educational infrastructure, and most importantly, the world has moved on. We must infuse ICT in the teaching and learning process. We have children who are in other parts of the country, especially in the big cities, who can use, mobile devices and tablets to access information on the information superhighway, internet. Our kids in Abia State capable of doing this. We want to move them to the level where they will be at par or near at par with kids globally, because the world is nobody is isolated from what is happening in the world today, because it's a global village. So we are prioritizing education, making sure that we are going to improve on standards, training of teachers, payment of salaries, the overall educational sector of the economy. Will prioritize and have an emergency approach as to bounce back, because education is one thing that gives the child of a rich and the child of a poor capacity to be at the same level or at the same table to have a discussion.
If I may interject at this point, there's a quote that says education is not cheap, and a lot of people try to seek this education, outside the shores of Nigeria, if I have to take it from where you stopped, to be at par, with people in the world over. And taking a look at the budget, Nigeria, Abia State, people have complained, ASU, teachers, various pressure groups have complained about the attention education has received. And if you take a look at the budget, like I was saying, little funds, or as compared to other areas, it's not like a priority area, so to say. It's not been given that pride of place when it comes to the budget. Are there plans to improve that, Mascot? Do you have plans to improve budgetary allocations to the education sector, and by what percent?
Well, if we didn't think education to be a priority, we will not be speaking on free primary and secondary school education.
Okay.
A lot of people don't feel it should be free. I think people should have free basic primary and secondary school education.
And probably pay for the tertiary.
Yes. There'll be a payment made on tertiary institutions. To what extent that will be determined in the future. Now, what we do know is that teachers are owed salaries. To what tune, we do not know. Because there's always this dispute between the teachers or the public servants and the government. So we can only ascertain that when we go into government to be able to do a full audit or forensic audit of what is actually owed. Then at that point, we can now structure a repayment plan over the next couple of months to repay that. But the idea is to start, hopefully, almost in the next term, once we go in, to gradually give that free education that we've talked about. But we have to go in to see what's going on there to be able to make further promises. But this is the plan, and it's something we're going to work towards to get done for the people, because we've gotten feedback that is something that the people actually want. So we're going to work towards to get it done for the people.
All right, so less than 25 days to the general elections. For the governorship, you have a little bit over that. Some people have cried. A pressure group had insisted that why don't we have the governorship and the presidential election on the same day? What do you think about that?
I don't think it's a bad idea. Personally, I don't think it's a bad idea, but there needs to be the proper budget done for it, and because I've always wondered what is the reason for doing them in 2 days. I've gotten some answers. The reason is if there's a problem, there's at least a process of stabilizing the country before the governorship. There's a little more threat on governorship election than the national election. I'm not sure why, but I've gotten different reasons why. But I'm sure with time, if the rivers work the way they've said it will work. I guess the next option will be going towards electronic voting. And once you have electronic voting, it is easier to conduct all elections on the same day. But for now, let's get the election done right. Then we can start having some of this wishful thinking.
Wishful, you call them?
Yeah.
Anyway, the People's Democratic Party actually had a second primary elections that was on Saturday, the 4th of February. And I know prior to that, you were on the road. You're still on the road. I hear you're headed somewhere else now. And you were in Ngwa, I think Ishalangwa a couple of days ago, right? At that point, some of the communities made a certain level of assurances that they've got your back. If I had to use that that trending, use it that way,
yes.
They've got your back.
Yes.
And be it as it may, they will go all the way for you, right? Now, how do you feel with those assurances in the light of the fact that the ruling People's Democratic Party zoned the primaries, the elections rather, the candidacy to Ishalangwa North precisely, to actually address the Unato agitation? And then the governor's former chief of staff, he used to be a chief of staff, emerging. I wouldn't want to call it a battle of chief of staffs, but then this is somebody who has been in government as well. He's also been in the private sector, which we've talked about as one of your strong points.
Yes.
Having a bit of both worlds, having to do this and do that. Where does he put you now on the pedestal?
It's not the same. He's been a chief of staff for 8 years. I was a chief of staff for over 3 years. He's not the same.
He was the chief of staff for
about eight months.
Okay.
8 months. I was the chief of staff for about 3+ years. So it's not. We're not talking about apples and oranges here. We're not comparing the same thing. I've also had international training as a businessman. He does not have. So you can't compare him the same way. I don't have a lot about his profile to start to make a comparison. But based on what we do know, we can't compare our profile the same way. He was a chief. He was appointed few months after Abazore stepped down to run for election. So I think he came in somewhere around either August or somewhere around that, either July or August, somewhere around that. So he's been a chief of staff roughly maybe 6, 7, 8 months, no more than that. So you cannot compare the two together. I had 3+ years experience before I stepped down.
So what about the Ngwa agitation? Are you still confident? This is the second time.
Let me say this. I think this is the first time I will go into this on the radio, on national, statewide radio. For me, look at the situation. Governor Kezie belongs to the G5.
Okay.
And the G5 agitation is that there has been a history of transitional power from the north to the south.
Yeah.
And from south back to the north. And the PDP did not transition power to the south. And also PDP has refused to let go the national chairmanship of the party to the south. This is the reason why they've gone on G5. And today, we're seeing our governor also betray the same trust that he said PDP has betrayed towards him. Power has rotated between the 3 senatorial zones. There has not been a statewide understanding on this new process they're taking within their party. There has not been a statewide agreement on it. So it cannot be seen to be law. When he ran for governor, Abia North people supported him and supported Alex Oti. I keep saying there was not a candidate of Abia North's son who ran that election with them. So it is time for them to come collectively to support Abia North to produce a governor. I'm not saying they must support Mascot Uzokalo.
Okay.
I said it's time for them to support Abia North to produce a candidate, a governor.
But I think we've moved past that. They already have a candidate.
I'm giving you my own thought. You asked my thought. I'm not a member of the political party, so I can't make any changes. I'm giving you my own thought or how I feel about it. I think it's wrong. They, within their own political party, could have found a noble son of Abia North who they would have supported to become the governor. Because I'm saying that the same injustice he feels is fighting for G5 is the same injustice he's denying Abia people today in Abia State. It's the same injustice. So let wrong be called wrong and right be called right.
Do you still, have that school of thought? Do you still belong to that school of thought that the party is still in disarray, talking about the PDP? You had said the infighting and the issues they had would actually affect the outcome.
What the party probably stand together is on their presidential candidate. The governorship candidate will truly know his fate after the presidential candidate. I still believe there's a difference in the party. Everybody have just put down their sword because they're tired of talking and fighting. The true faith will be known come after 25th of February. That's when it will be clear. But let me say this to them. Abia North will speak with one voice. They should not take our silence for cowardness. Abia North will speak with one voice. I can assure you that.
I can imagine that on the headlines tomorrow. I'll be not to speak with one voice. Mascot Uzo Carlo. And let me go to the man from Okwa, who his people have been crying about marginalization for, if I may, donkey years. What's your disposition as regards power rotation?
Is the goose that lays the golden egg of Abia State. And the pet dog, hunting dog that will go for the hunting expedition, not even get the bone. Basically, Action People's Party is the party that has recognized the yearnings and aspirations of Ogwa people on the political platform of Abia State.
Okay.
And today, beyond the fact that I am of Ukwa extraction and the running mate of Chief Mascot Uzo Carlo, we also have growing acceptance across the state. What we see at the grassroots when we go to meet the people is such that beyond the calculations and political permutations, we have this formidable team. And the people, the electorates are aware now. They are going for individuals. It's not just the party logo. They want to see competence. They want to see commitment. They want to see what skills do you have as to the value you're bringing to governance. And they also want to see young people. And we strongly believe that it's time for us to, as a people, decide that our government house should not be a retirement home. So, Action People's Party has a team of young people, well-skilled, dedicated, has built their competencies, and the pair of Chief Mascot Uzo Carlo from Abia North and Professor Sondo Akoma from the Ukwa extraction in Abia South. It's purely equity.
Okay.
Beyond competencies that we have. We are not stretching the other aspect to it. The issue of justice for all is a natural cause. We want to make you realize that, everyone realize that this is the time for us to have a paradigm shift. And we are determined.
If I may, I like to do this a lot, pardon me, but then let me just steer us in another direction. Mascot, Chief Mascot, pardon that I have to call him Mascot. We're on first name basis.
It's okay.
So if Chief Mascot, has that experience, been the corridors of power, has that political background. I mean, he's done party politics. For you, it's more like from classroom into politics. Do you have political experience? Have you been a member of the party for how long? How do you think this would affect you? I mean, in the course of the elections.
I have community service and mass mobilization capacity.
Okay.
I've not always been a university person. As a matter of fact, I finished the service. I started working at Abiapam Nigeria Limited in 1992.
Which of them? In Okwa or?
Yeah, in my home, in Obako.
We have one in my village, that's what I'm asking. In Sulu, Bausi.
That's where we had the meal.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where we had the meal. So I stepped into that company without signing or writing an application. 2 years later, it became a full-blown World Bank project. And the services we rendered there was not just going to harvest palms. I became a community youth opinion leader. So the years I spent at home and the experiences I garnered working with the locals as a young graduate and in a World Bank project that also had community development perspective. And then from there, we also got involved in the union. I was the branch chairman of Agriculture and Allied Senior Staff Association and a member of the national executive of that union. So these are things that prepare us to interface with people.
Yeah.
To be able to deliver to your people and to be able to serve. So it's okay to say he's a professor, he's from the university, but there were some things we were doing before we got to what we're doing now. And that always pays off.
Let's come to the natural resources, especially of Ndiokwa, yeah? The goose that lays the golden egg. It used to be huge in agriculture with the palm produce, which seems to have gradually died off right now. And then the over-dependence on crude oil, which of course is from also from Ndiokwa as well. What are your thoughts on diversification? Your thoughts on harnessing the true potential of that area, and what's your administration's vision for Ndiokwa? I mean, do you want a mega city, an industrialized city? Do you want to leave it as an agricultural city?
Well, we'll start with what we already have.
Okay.
Beyond oil, which is more abundant in Okwa West than Okwa East, there's actually a cottage industry. You heard Governor Soludo when he was inaugurated that he's going to use Akwete cloth.
Exactly.
It has always been there. That industry can be expanded. Also in Azumini,
the Blue River.
Blue River tourism. Major consideration is expanding it, and then security considerations too. Because we, apart from the expatriates that used to come there, our people also know how to enjoy themselves. So if we develop it to the extent where you have a 3 or 4 star hotel there, a resort that's Aba, Azumini, Port Harcourt, in between, people can always, during Christmas, Easter celebrations, make use of those facilities. Azumini also, the sharp sand, that was the source of the raw materials for the international glass industry. The sand is still there, silica-rich sand that can be used for glass manufacturing. Obako.
Yeah, the city that never
not Obako City, Obako, my hometown, Obako Ndoki, is just about 15 nautical miles to the Atlantic Ocean. A port system that is developed there can link Aba to a railway line that will get to Isialang, where you have the containerized port that has already been approved by the federal government that is non-functional. And the fact that Okwa is in close proximity to Aba and Port Harcourt, there could be a satellite town springing up when all these things are done. So what we have now is that we are resolute to tap into these resources and these potentials. The palms have always been there. Mm-hmm. And then I've mentioned sand, silica rich. Yeah. I've mentioned the Akwete cloth. I've mentioned the port system. And I've also mentioned tourism. These are ways of, expanding our potentials, creating jobs for the youth, and then get government revenue to build back better.
And let me also say that most of what he just said are also in our manifesto. So he's just not telling you things we're going to do.
You know what I wanted to say? While you were speaking, he looked at you, he looked at me, he looked at you again, and looked at me, said, I told you. It was more like, I told you. Do you understand? Because we've had conversations about your capacity and your competence, your awareness of the issues of your people and Abia State in general, your ability to also translate this to solutions and say this is the direction in which we should steer. We've talked about that timelessly on the program, and I see that daddy proud look on his face in as much as he's a very young person as well. But then the thing is, at some point when people come up with solutions to the issues we have, there's one question that kept popping up, like, do you need to be the one to effect this? I mean, are people not listening? Is there nobody who sees the light that you have seen to say we could have put machineries in place? I don't know if you get the picture I'm trying to paint.
Well, it has to take somebody to bring it to light, and if it takes the two of us to have to do it, then it takes the two of us. Governance is not easy. Governance is not easy. I tell it to people all the time. And when you want to be, or when you want to lead, but do not know all the nitty-gritty on how to lead, when you go in, those nitty-gritty are faced, then you forget about all the plans that you have. That's why each time I talk about experience, because being in there, those nitty-gritties, when those problems come, I know how to start to solve those problems gradually.
Yeah.
I have the shock observers to observe them and know that they cannot derail me from the dream of all the promises I've made. Will those problems come? They will come. They come with the office. To find the solutions, you need experience. Some people tell you, oh, yes, you need everything. You need empathy. You need all those things. But experience is what's going to make the biggest difference. Experience is what's going to make the biggest difference.
All right, we'll take a moment, and when we get back, of course, a special edition of The Standpoint will continue right here. In the studio with me is Chief Mascot Uzokalo, the governorship candidate of the Action People's Party, as well as his deputy, Professor Osondu. Right? Professor Osondu Akoma is also here in the studio. He's making a debut on the special edition of the program. We'll just be a moment, and we'll be right back.
maka ọganiru ya na ọdịmma nke ndị Abịa ka anyị pụta n'igwe were votu anyị tụnyere Honorable Mascot Uzokalo ka ọ bụrụ gọvanọ Abia steeti, tụnyere Action People's Party APP bịanye aka ebe ahụ esere enyi APP.
Let's talk politics, dynamics, and permutations.
It is a concern that we have for our country, Nigeria. This is beyond partisan politics. It's unfortunate. And these are the kind of people who say they are leaders of this country. What example are they showing as leaders of the country?
Let's keep you abreast with the happenings in the polity.
Nigeria is on drip and on oxygen. And how can we get out of this?
I am an employer of the president. I pay the president's salary. I pay the bills of his family. And he must protect me.
Standpoint.
Standpoint.
The center of all talks of politics.
Standpoint. Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. on Rapid 96.5 FM, Umahia.
More Nigerian is more Nigerian than any Nigerian.
All right, we had to take a moment, and we are right back. It's a special edition of The Standpoint with Mascot Uzor-Kalu. He's here with his deputy, Professor Osondu Akoma. The language of the Okwa people, the dialect of Okwa people is actually a bit different. I mean, it's not the same. There's this time, I'm from Mungwa, Ishalangwa to be precise. And I say, Ndokwa Likwitala Hambo Ndengwa, right? What do you think about that?
Onyo kwawu onyengwa. I will kwanangwa. And it's always, more acceptable for Ndengwa.
To say that, just for majority saying.
But the point is that the Okwa Federation is actually distributed in 3 states of the Federation.
Really? Namely?
We're in Abia.
Okay.
We're in Rivers. And we're in Akwa Ibom.
Oh.
Yes.
Tribe in Akwa Ibom.
And Okwa is a federation. Okay. But they are made up of 2 components. Asa and Ndoki. So you have Okwa East and West as administrative, political entities, local governments in Abia State. But the Imo River that crosses from Ubibo to Akwete has the same people
on both sides.
At the upper coast, the Omoma people are in both Okwa West and in Eberi Omoma in River State. The Asa people are in Obibo, Konkom, Obama, Miniwai. The Dindoki people, Afam.
Yeah.
The same language that is spoken in Afam is what is spoken in Akwete. Umuabai, Mboji, Azuogu, up to Obet. They are in River State. The other, bank of the river is Obunku, Ohanso, Akwete, Ohambele, Obako. Then further down, there's a place we call Ohobu, but today is in Akwa Ibom. Then in Azumini, as a matter of fact, there is no boundary between Azumini and Iwukem because they used to settle on our land, and by state creation, they used to be in the former Aba division, in the colonial court system.
Yeah.
They used to have their cases determined in Aba. But by the time states were created during the Biafran War 1967, they took our land to Cross River and then subsequently into Akwa Ibom. So the name Iwukem never existed before 1970. They changed from Monta to Iwukem, and today they are in Akwa Ibom. And there are other 7 villages.
But they don't speak Efik, Ibibio.
There are 7 Doki-speaking villages that by boundary adjustment, that Nasri panel seeded them into Akwa Ibom. We speak the same language, but we're in different states. So the Okwaman has been balkanized. But where we find strength and recognition, where we have local governments to us, is in Abia State. And that's where we have the majority as being found in Okwa East and Okwa West.
And then in the Abia State, you've not been given a pride of place.
This government will.
I see the passion and what you're trying to address here.
This government will.
But then when you communicate, do you speak Igbo?
Oh yes, he speaks normally, but
I was actually brought up in Aba.
Okay.
He speaks Central Igbo. But gradually I'm beginning to understand their language.
You would have gone there a lot of times.
Yes. Gradually I'm beginning to understand their language. Gradually.
So you had mentioned something about the Akwete. I guess the governor of this administration, the present governor, Okezie Victor Ekpa's doctor, has been propagating the Made in Aba, and then suddenly the governor of Anambra State said he was going to only wear Akwete. But then, do you think some of those policies and moves have, actually brought about industrialization to, so that the benefits of having this cottage industry can be maximized by the people of Ukwa?
Well, it's, for now, up to this point, it's still handloom. So it's not industrialized.
Can it be industrialized?
Of course. Of course.
There are machines for it.
As a matter of fact, you can even build in computer programs that could.
Really?
Of course. Yes.
Well, what makes the difference is the thread that is being used to produce it.
Yeah.
But would it be of more value if each of them were handmade?
Well, you can also do it in two ways.
If you want this.
Yes, if you want the handmade one, it might be more expensive than the machine-made one. So, because the handmade to do is a personal touch to it. But then again, the people who are doing the handmade one, if you're going to now put on the international level, will have to understand that everything line needs to be straight. Everything needs to be properly done. So the machine-made one may be cheaper because there's less labor going into it than the handmade one. So,
is it a priority for your administration to eventually become governor?
Anything that we will do to create job is a priority for us. Our government is going to use the economic term, multiplier effect. Everything we do must have a multiplier effect. So we will partner with the right people. We encourage and partner with the right people. We've told you that the Made in Aba project will be brought down to Turkey to go and train them there. It add more value for us to bring them here to Aba and put the training centers in Aba, get a certificate, also have relationships with the machine manufacturing companies so that government can approve and say, having this particular individual having met the requirements of what is required, we hereby guarantee, give him the necessary equipment and let him pay over time. So, those are the things we expect to do to start off and jumpstart the economy of Aba. So, when we've promised 40,000 jobs in 4 years,
some people believe that you are probably just
joking, Abi.
But with all of the industries that have been mentioned, I mean, the abundance of palm produce.
Thank you. And let me also bring you on palm produce. We also have a similar palm plantation in Okono, in Ohafia.
Really?
Yes. We also have similar plantation in Okon, in Ohafia. We've not talked about the rice farm that starts from Umuahia side all the way to Aruchuku. Those are projects that we intend to partner with the right people and aggressively push for them. So when we talk about 40,000 jobs, people think we're joking, but we are very, very serious about it, and we believe it's achievable.
Okay, so talking about young people, governorship candidate, deputy governorship candidate, young people. The people in Abia State are made up of a lot of young people. Institutions in Abia State, we have about 3, 4 or more tertiary institutions. Let's not start counting. And that means you have a lot of young people, an abundance or residual of young people within the state. And at some point, the term Japa seems to be very inherent in the Nigerian space, social media especially, with every young person trying to leave, even if it's moving to a bigger city, end quote. I know we've talked about your plans for, incorporating young people into your administration and being a part of the government. But then there's certain things young people look out for. You've talked about the fact that you want to ensure that we have hubs, computer centers, IT hubs, and all that kind of stuff. But entertainment wise, young people would rather go to Owerri, go to Akwa Ibom, neighboring states, and they feel, okay, that's where I'd want to be this period, just to cool off, just to chill. The entertainment life, it's something that has suffered in Abia State, really, because if you look at the music industry, most of some of the biggest names there are, let me see who comes easily to mind. Mr. Raw, this guy from I beg your pardon. I'm trying to just wrap, but then what I'm trying to say is these guys move away from the city, and even for example, Rough Coin no longer wants to stay in Aba after singing Abu Mwaba. He no longer wants to stay in Aba. I mean, you get my drift.
I understand.
And so, do you have any plan to ensure that entertainment industry is, revived?
You can't blame them. The question is, where do you do the movie, your movie production of your music? Where do you produce it? So it's some of the things we're talking about of having a governor who's approachable, a governor who understands the system, a governor who can go out in the evening, sit down in a bar, have a drink with people, invite businessmen, just people he does not know, and sit down with them and talk. What we've done is that we've privatized, or I won't say privatized, but we've protected governorship so much that when the man is a governor, he no longer has relationship with the people. And we forget that this governance is about the people. So we're going to be governor and deputy governor that will go out to the masses and sit down in the local bars and local places and talk with the people. Because on a very good day, your everyday people who you're governing, some of them go there, that's where they go to chill. So yesterday we were in a local place where we sat down and had drinks with people, exchanged ideas, and told them what we're going to do for them. And it's not the first time, it's not going to be the last. 2 weeks ago, I was here. I went to Latinos. I saw some people there, spoke to them privately as well. Why do I do those things? I want to know the type of businesses we have. I want to know, how do I protect them? How do I help them? Last weekend, I was in Panyu, in Aba. So I visited the place, took a tour. Because a lot of these people have invested a lot of money in the system. And they need to also find a way to make sure they make their money back. And when I went into Panyu, was my first time of actually going in there, and I was amazed at what the owner has put in there. And what can we do? As government, we will support such businesses to make sure they thrive and promote them, for them to grow. Small businesses, small hotel owners, small club owners, they will be supported in the businesses. So anybody that tells you, I'm a governor now, I cannot go to such place, there's nothing like that. There's no such thing.
To use some of the revenues that could be accrued to the government?
No, they'll pay their revenue. If I push businesses to them, I expect them to pay the revenue. If I push businesses to them, our goal as government is to make sure we make the place invited, encouraging enough for their businesses to improve. So if we improve businesses to them, we expect them to pay the revenue, because that's how we are pushing businesses to them to stay afloat. We in government stay afloat by them paying the revenue for us to stay afloat. So the idea of pushing the businesses, so we will do everything within ourselves to make sure small businesses, medium class businesses, they survive, they thrive, and move forward. That is the goal. That's the difference of what we can do that most of these people cannot do. I've told you before, I said, there is no low class area I cannot enter as an individual. There's no middle class area that I cannot enter as an individual. And there's no upper class place I cannot enter as an individual. So what makes me different from other confidential candidates is this. There are those who have outgrown going into the lower class. So that's what makes me different. I'm a governorship candidate that can go anywhere and meet with the people. And that's what is important, because they know me. A lot of them know me for many years. You need to be able to socialize with on all levels. Habits are different things. Habits are different things. That I am socializing with those people doesn't mean that I take it too. But they are human beings. There are ideas that they'll give you. There are information that they'll give you. There are things they'll tell you that other people will not tell you. So part of what is killing government is that the governor is so far protected, he does not know the reality. Each morning, governor, and he thinks the world is good. He does not understand people are suffering. But when you socialize with those people, you understand the real nature of what's happening in the environment.
Before I open up the phone lines, or let me just open up the phone lines, I've got one question else to ask you. 0916-0333-965. Just in case you want to ask a question, you got 1 minute. 0916-0333-965. It's also scrolling on the screen if you're watching. 0916-0333-965, or you call 0916-000-965. 0916-000-965. You are someone that a lot of people are able to relate with, and then you've mentioned that you're able to go around, have conversation, mix up and socialize. What's one thing that you feel the people are affected by the most?
Unemployment, the ability to have money in their pocket.
Especially in the light of this moment.
Yeah, this one, if you want to talk about this one, it's a different category of its own. Yeah. But let me say, since you brought this up, since 2015, I had made an interview. I said, Nigeria does not have an economic problem. Nigeria has a monetary policy problem. And I got calls last week from people, friends that I know, who said, Mascot, you predicted this thing 7 years ago. I am an economist. I'm also a financial analyst. It is two rare combinations you cannot see just anyhow across the world. To have somebody who has economic knowledge, who is also a financial analyst. So when you do certain policies, I take it in as an economist and I analyze it as an analyst, and I can tell you what the result will be. And 7 years ago, I predicted that we will have this kind of crisis we're having in monetary policy. Nobody listened to me, and we are here today.
What's the solution? What's the way out?
The way out is to remove all the boundaries of saying 20,000 here, 20. You see, the job of a CBN governor, it should not be seen or heard. People should feel the effect. You cannot combine your job with the job of an EFCC person, because when you do that and you're using monetary policy to fight crime, you're destroying your monetary policy.
Okay.
You want to recover monies hidden. From what we're told, you've recovered 80%. What is the simple policy? If the policy is that if you're taking 500,000 naira, above 500,000 naira as an individual, we'll give you an EFCC and ICPC form to sign and explain what you're going to use it for. People will be shying away from taking the money. If the goal is for corporate entities, 1.5 million. If you want to take cash more than 1.5 million, we'll give you an EFCC ICPC form to sign. That should be the simple policy. He does not have any reason to combine himself with chasing people. It has no effect.
So make the money available, and if you
make the funds available, because what is happening is that this problem is eroding on people's confidence for Naira.
Okay.
It's eroding, and your job as a central bank governor is to make sure you protect your monetary policy. You cannot use your position to fight crime. It's not your job. Let EFCC fight the crime. What he's doing in trying to do all these things is eroding people's confidence in the naira. And it's very bad. It's terrible. I was passing this morning, people lined up just waiting. How can people be waiting to collect their own money? Does it make sense? It's not that the money is not there, but they wait. So what's going to happen is that once they open it up, you see massive withdrawal, and it will affect the local banks. Because if they don't have money in the banks, how can they loan? But that's the problem we've created now. Because once you open it up and make it available, massive withdrawals. So we, in our own mind of trying, we want to fight this, it is not his job. Let EFCC do their work. His job is to protect the monetary policy of the nation and improve on it. That's what his job is. His job is not to fight crime. And in the process of fighting crime, look at he's eroding the confidence people have on Naira.
Well, there's some areas in Nigeria where they are actually trading with foreign currencies because of bordering the countries that border on them. the francs especially. It's not used to trade for local services, and even goods have been bought with that. The unavailability of the naira has affected a lot. The economic impact has been more on the negative than on the positive, and a lot of people right now are finding it difficult to even assess the least 1,000 naira, because people even sell the naira that they have. You want to make use of the point of sale services rather.
They'll charge you.
They charge you 1,005, 1,008, 2,000 for 10,000 naira. And you can imagine the hardship for someone who probably earns 30,000 naira monthly, and you want to withdraw your salary. You have to spend as much as 5,000 naira to get your salary, so you end up having just 25,000 naira. You know, especially when the cost of things have skyrocketed.
Very soon we'll continue to see increases in prices of things due to the scarcity of naira.
We've not even talked about fuel and petrol. Anyway, but then some of these national issues, you know, as a way of wrapping up this program, some of these national issues, if they affect the state, you're part of the federation, how would you be able to build more of a shock absorber for the people in your state?
You remember I said that my happiness is that we're going to have a change in government. There's no presidency that would accept this. I don't see how it can be accepted.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about naira that was printed, and we are giving it out in piecemeal. I've said to you, these things are simple. In the US, you're allowed to withdraw $100,000, but their policy is that if you withdraw more than 10,000, you fill a form. If you deposit more than 10,000, you fill a form. So that form filling becomes a deterrent for those who want to do corrupt practices to do it. But before now in Nigeria, if you are withdrawing more than 4.5 million or 500,000, they charge you a fee. But once you put form filling, so once you're putting more than $10,000 or more than 4.5 million in a corporate account, you fill a form. Once you're taking more than 500,000, you fill a form. It's a deterrent, because nobody wants their name popping up with EFCC. They know they will show up in front of your house any day. So if you want to fight the crime, that's how to fight the crime. Not use withholding of money as a way of fighting crime. No. You're eroding the confidence of the people on the naira.
Thank you very much for coming on the program today. It's been momentous. We spent the last 1 hour not knowing that we've been here for as much as an hour. Professor Osondu Akoma, the man who lays the golden egg.
The man from the place that lays the golden egg.
I wanted to use a personification of some sort to describe that. But then it's been a great conversation, and the enormous possibilities that emerge from the combination of your TAC team is something I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to, and as such, as you go on in your campaign tour, I can only wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
The mock accreditation exercise was carried out on Saturday as well, and Festus Okoye, the commissioner at INEC, has said it was a success. It means the bimodal verification accreditation system has been certified as good to go, in the forthcoming general elections. We are counting down in matter of days to the elections. I'm sure you've submitted your list for agents who are going to be representing you, in the various units and wards, and to be conducted or to be moving around in the second wave of your campaign tour. One can say, I think you've done your homework very well. On that note, as a matter of closing, as an epilogue, if you had to rate yourself ready for this election on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate yourself?
Scale of 1 to 10, we'll put ourselves maybe at 7.5. We still have some few things we need to do, cross some T's, dot some I's, before the time comes. So we'll put ourselves probably about a 7.5. Hopefully within the next week or so, we'll probably be above an 8, approaching 9. But we'll be ready by the time the presidential election comes for our National Assembly election, people.
Thank you very much, Chief Mascot Uzokalo. Thank you very much, Professor Sondu Akoma. Hopefully we'll have you in the coming week or at the weekend.
Sure. We'll be back here on weekend.
It's been a special edition of The Standpoint right here on Rapid 96.5. Of course, you can follow programs at our various social media platforms, and of course we're counting down to the official launch of the TV. Look out for that one. Let me break the ice. My name is Temple Bar. Many thanks to the producer of this program,